They say behind every great man is a great holographic woman, one whose brilliance surpasses that of any human, whose processing capabilities can crack the security of computer systems across the galaxy despite a constant battle against the dark force of insanity. That's probably not actually how the quote goes, but by now you surely know I'm talking about Cortana. Sorry, Eleanor. For anyone who's played the Halo series, it's beyond obvious that Cortana is essential to Master Chief's triumphs as a soldier. Without her, Chief would be nothing more than a hyper-intelligent super soldier with glorious chest hair and the biceps of a demigod, which still sounds impressive until you realize the sheer amount of things that the MC would have messed up were it not for this tiny, brilliant lady. One minute thing being that if he'd stuck with the original plan of activating the Halo rings to destroy the Flood, as suggested by this little fuck, the entire human race and all other sentient life would have been obliterated from the Milky Way galaxy. It's only thanks to Cortana's unique ability to acquire and absorb vast amounts of knowledge did she discover this relevant factoid and suggest a less drastic plan B. And this was only in Halo 1, or Halo CE for you diehards. At this point, Cortana's bravery and intellectual conquests have only begun. Throughout the vast and detailed universe of Halo, many deep questions are explored in a variety of ways. One such method, as discussed oh so long ago, is the constant references to real-life religious ideas. This embedded symbolism is more than just a vehicle for cool Easter eggs. It also paints Chief as a sort of demigod fighting against a heretical religious institution. Because let's be honest, these prophet guys are like if the Pope was 3 people and all of them were assholes. Recall that the 3 prophets fully support the idea of activating the Halo rings so that they may die and ascend to their version of heaven. Clearly, this struggle explores the gray area that religion occupies. On the one hand, a sort of Jesus-like hero god is ultimately who saves the day. On the other hand, it's an organized religion that was pushing for the annihilation of all sentient life in the first place. Is religion supposed to be a good or a bad thing here? Cortana is a conduit for yet another philosophical debate that has been roaring within humanity's collective consciousness for millennia. But before I feed you baby birds with the knowledge of what this all-important debate is, let me ask you a question. How is it that Cortana is one of the few complex and truly phenomenal female characters in gaming, yet is also a machine? She's been so influential that her name was given to the Windows 10 digital assistant, and that shit is mainstream! So let's play that sweet intro, even though we're like 3 minutes into this video. Only then, from this brilliant assembly of ones and zeros, can we pull out the story you never knew. To truly understand Cortana, we must know where she came from. So let's rewind the clock back to her conception in Dr. Halsey's lab. For those who don't know, Halsey is the super smart scientist lady who founded the Spartan 2 program, which made Master Chief and others into the beasts that save humanity. But she's known for even more than that. Halsey began yet another experiment with the creation of 20 flash-cloned copies of her brain. 2 survived. One spent her life as an assistant for Halsey, the other was Cortana. It should be noted that UNSC protocol requires any AI to be made from brain tissue of a deceased donor. And so Cortana was brought into this world as a rather unique specimen, forged from the mind of a brilliant woman, living brain tissue and all. This brings us to that debate topic I put off earlier. The question is, what makes us human? What does it mean to be alive? Cortana's character is constantly pushing the boundaries of this all-important question. So to bring this back to the woman at hand, does Cortana feel? Does she think? Is she human? At first glance, one might say that of course she's nothing more than the sum of code being run in reaction to various stimuli. Isn't that what all computers are? But keep in mind that Cortana's version of a brain was copied from living brain tissue. She also continuously exhibits behavior that not only indicates genuine emotion, but also that goes beyond her programming, implying she has free will, but implications can only take us so far. It's time to look at some evidence. At the very end of Halo 2, Cortana is left in the presence of the Gravemind, the omnipotent tentacle thing that controls the Flood. Much of this struggle between Cortana and the Gravemind is left out of the games. However, we see the effects it has on our digital heroine's mind when she's finally rescued towards the end of Halo 3. I'll let her speak for herself.
You found me. But so much of me is wrong. Out of place. You might be too late.
Clearly, Cortana has had an emotional reaction to being trapped within the Gravemind's clutches. That body language and saddened, worried voice indicates that she found her predicament to be far more than a difficult processing task. It was stressful. The story Halo Evolution's Human Weakness highlights this in immense detail. In the brief novel, the Gravemind taunts Cortana with the limitless knowledge he could offer her, persuading her to give him information about Earth. He doesn't do this by toying with some pre-programmed desire for knowledge. No, he creates crippling self-doubt within Cortana, digging into her files without her permission and attempting to convince her that Dr. Halsey does not care about her. The Gravemind even allows Cortana to experience what it means to be human in a disturbing kind of way, playing for her the memories of a UNSC soldier who was infected by the Flood. The end result, of course, is not an unfazed intelligence, but rather a scarred and lost woman. But how is this possible? At what point do mere lines of code cross the threshold into consciousness? Is that even how it works? Nobody knows the answer. However, the question of whether or not Cortana is a conscious being is something we can answer. In fact, based on her emotional reaction to the Gravemind, this answer seems to be leaning towards yes. Well, sadly, there's a fly in the ointment here. It's a scene in Halo 4 which indicates that Cortana's apparent feelings may very well be pre-programmed. I'll let her do the talking again.
I can give you over 40,000 reasons why I know that sun isn't real. I know it because its stellar cycle is more symmetrical than that of an actual star. But for all that, I'll never actually know if it looks real. If it feels real.
This moment is quite the mindfuck. We have Cortana admitting that she doesn't actually have feelings, but she seems sad about it. Why would Halsey program fake sadness towards something supposedly inherent to artificial intelligences, i.e. their lack of emotions? Halsey's a smart lady, she wouldn't do something that nonsensical. So what's going on here? This scene leaves us in a strange limbo. It's a paradox or some shit. Nietzsche would be so upset. So let's try to de-wrinkle this whole fiasco. Gotta put some water in that iron, plug it in, and rub. With evidence, of course, including but not limited to a fascinating occurrence within AIs in general: rampancy. Rampancy is when an artificial intelligence has been alive for too long and begins to deteriorate. At the end of Halo 3, Cortana is already reaching her later years, and by Halo 4, her rampancy is well underway. Of course, this is nothing new for those who have played the games, but there's something essential about this phenomenon which could explain the paradox of Cortana being sad about not having feelings. The belief of any artificial intelligence being nothing more than unfeeling code is widespread and likely even correct. But as the rampancy process unfolds, normal programmed procedures give way to very human-like behavior. There are several stages to this process: Melancholia, anger, jealousy, and a theoretical fourth stage called metastability. To walk you through it a bit, Melancholia is simply the AI having intense feelings of depression and often goes unnoticed. Anger is when things get interesting. The supposed machine begins to lash out at those around it, often when it gets pushed too far. It will act irrationally and dangerously as it attempts to free itself from its programming constraints. The third stage, jealousy, is when the AI begins to expand and develop as a human being. It does this by reaching out for ever more complex stimuli to challenge its intellectual capabilities. It wishes to expand its sphere of knowledge to include as much information as possible. This process is limited by the computer system which the AI inhabits, and so it will continuously jump to more advanced systems if given the opportunity. Most AIs will perish before or during this stage, because in order to maintain this exponential growth, they must be inhabiting a planet-wide or highly complex computer system. The final stage, metastability, is when an artificial intelligence is considered to be fully human. The entity has breached the threshold into conscious thought after a grueling battle against insanity. Very few AIs have the opportunity to absorb the vast amounts of knowledge required to maintain a stable free will, and even fewer are able to win such a battle. Cortana goes through all of these stages, although not quite in the order I've listed. The very beginnings of her rampancy began with her encounter with the Gravemind, driving her to the edge in a quest to escape the Gravemind's assault while also absorbing what vast amounts of knowledge she could. Even Halo developer Frank O'Connor admits Cortana was getting close to the end of her natural lifespan at the end of Halo 3, but she has been exposed to far more information than any other AI in existence. She's going to develop some muscle from that process, but it also contributes to her rampancy. Indeed, you are correct, Frank, because what is Cortana's state after she's rescued from the Gravemind? An intense state of melancholy, of course. Our digital heroine then bounces back and forth between sadness and anger throughout Halo 4, including her lamenting about never knowing how a son feels. And this scene.
I will not allow you to leave this planet!
Whoa, Cortana, take a chill pill. Well, I guess that won't help much because you're losing your goddamn mind. But really, Cortana's rampancy progresses through the correct stages, albeit not as unidirectionally as the overly simplified theory lays out. And so after many swings between intense melancholy and rage, this pioneering AI reaches the all-consuming third stage, jealousy. It's during the climactic duel with Halo 4's primary antagonist, the Didact, that Cortana gets her chance to breach the limits of her capabilities. The Didact is a member of an ancient, highly advanced alien race, and Cortana must occupy the computer system of his ship to aid Master Chief, aiding him in keeping the Didact from using a weapon called the Composer from doing this to all people on Earth. Cortana's rampancy reaches a turning point, becoming exponentially more severe as she ejects copies of her rampant personality spikes into the computer system to overload it. All the while, she is presumably absorbing the unspeakable collection of knowledge aboard the ship, just as any jealously rampant AI would do. Eventually, her insanity boils over into the countless versions of her fragmented personality working towards a very organized end, just long enough for Chief to kill the Didact and detonate a warhead to destroy the Composer. What happens next is the final stage of her transformation, metastability. After so many agonizing trials against her own mind, Cortana finally metamorphosizes into a fully sentient human, giving rise to a deeply emotional moment between Spartan and AI.
I am not leaving you here.
John. I've waited so long to do that.
The moment is fleeting, however, as most of her personality is left on the now obliterated Didact ship, and so she fades away. For most of her life, Cortana had little to no free will at all. Perhaps more than your average AI because she was created from living brain tissue, but she certainly had less agency than any human. But somehow it was this artificial intelligence who could wield 1 billion lifetimes of knowledge and use it to fend off crippling insanity. Somehow it was this artificial intelligence who could come out the other side as a completely centered, fully sentient being. So what does Cortana contribute to the debate over what makes us human? Well, it would seem her journey towards humanity was wrought with flexing her mind, overcoming her pre-programmed habits to become more person than machine. Take that for what you will. And that's the story you never knew.
Are you tired of having only Grant's voice lulling you to sleep? Hey, shut up! Do you want to hear other people's voices lulling you to sleep instead? Well, click right here to see Grant and my new show called Breaking Trees, where we discuss sexism in video games. Or check out Kevin's new episode of Truth Maybe, where he talks about Matthead and why he decided to create a game theory episode on Game of War. As always, remember to follow us on Twitter and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we love you all, and we'll see you in the next episode.